Hello and welcome to Geek First Sidequest, your weekly software game news reviews and more here on the Geek First Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the Rebel, Travis Snell. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good. I got a couple more days until I got a week off, a week and some change. So it's that type of time where work feels kind of slow. We're also just severely low staff due to like some people evacuate, some people sick, some people vacation time. So it's just that the last week to get to the vacation is going to be brutal. But I see the end of the line. So other than that, I'm
Right.
doing good.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk about Gamescom today,
Hmm.
but I wanted to quickly mention this as a bit of an update because anyone who hangs out in our Discord or anyone who just follows the news generally might have seen that in Kelowna, which is where, Geek First was born and most of the
Hmm.
members are, even though I've since moved, is currently just being just ravaged by wildfires, and it is insane. It is scary. I arrived in Kelowna at the worst possible time, as it
Yeah.
were, to be there for the weekend and see what that was like. But it's been very stressful. There's been tons of evacuations and people being moved around, and thankfully, no one here, on our podcast has been affected in a huge
Hmm.
way. But even on my personal side of things, my sister lost her house, and it's super traumatic, and
Yeah.
it's so many emotions to deal with. It's crazy. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone in the Discord who was like checking in on us
Hmm.
and just giving us our best wishes. Like, Summer was in there, April, Maddie, sorry if I missed anyone, but yeah, like it was very nice to see everyone thinking about us and whatnot. And things have seemed to take in like a better turn. The weather's better now, and it seems like things are mostly under control, but there's still, thousands of people evacuated, and it's still very scary, and things are changing. And even like yesterday, there was like just a random lightning storm, and some other place
Yeah.
got caught on fire, and they thankfully shut that down pretty quick. But it's just like a never-ending barrage of stuff right now. It's a very crazy and emotional weekend. So it's nice to be here now and talk about some video games, have some fun. But yeah, how are you doing, Travis? Just like, how's your family doing, and mentally, how are you feeling after
Yeah.
this weekend?
Yeah, everyone. Luckily for my side is good. There's nobody really. The people that are on the west side, they live on the further side, so end up being okay. So we had lots of people. Like Emily's work is more affected because has a lot of people that lived on the west side.
Mm,
So I think she knows somebody that lost their home as well. So yeah, it's not a great time. It's one of those things where, and on like just like a little level, like the air quality is just awful. Like
yeah.
you're just locked up pretty much. You're not doing much. That's what me and Emily were talking about last night. We had this free time, and usually in the summer beach you're trying to do something, but we just looked at each other like, oh, there's just they're looking outside like there's nothing to do. So watch a cooking show and whatnot. But yeah, no, and yeah, show too because I can't remember, we moved a cast back too, and some patrons too, like Sam and stuff were
Right.
saying things as well. So yeah, no, thanks to everybody that did that. And yeah, no, luckily all my stuff has been very minor stuff, like moving. We're moving like Logan's birthday's this week, and we're moving that inside. I was gonna go camping around Fintry, but
Yeah.
that's like a
Danger
no
zone.
go. So yeah, so luckily nothing on my side that's been too bad, but still just the overall, and it's more work related for me. Work's been it comes in ebbs and flows as far as it's on Friday it was very quiet because a lot of people were evacuated, but then after that the workload is just huge, and then there's other things too having to do with the hospitals and stuff like that. At
Mm-hmm.
one point, talking about the hospitals being evacuated and
Yeah.
everything. So it's so in that aspect, I'm kind of happy to be off in a week because it's I'm sure the workload's going to be crazy. But at the end of the day, I guess it's still good to help. And yeah, big shout out to everybody that is out there doing their thing. If anyone in Kelowna or around, well, even not even Kelowna, anyone in Canada that's come down, because I know there's people from Hope and everywhere like that. Shouts to
Yeah. It's
Kyle,
not
he's
just
out.
Kelowna, right? Yeah. There's
Yeah.
so many places, even in Northwest Territories and stuff, like just Canada in general, freaking
Yeah.
actively on fire right now.
Shouts out to Kyle. He's been back for a month, and that's all he's doing now. He's just out there
Right?
firefighting and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. So yeah, it affects all the way around. But yeah, so vacation might be a little canceled, but I don't know. We've kicked around doing some ideas of some sort of stream or something in the future
Mm-hmm.
once some more stuff kind of gets set up. So maybe look out for that. But yeah, I'm excited to at least you get to take your mind off it for a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's do that. I don't think there's really
Hmm.
any shout outs. Any cast you want to shout out, or do you want to just kind of get right into it here today?
Just the only thing quickly will be Ahsoka later for the next few weeks. We're not
Right.
sure if Marvel's going to do the same thing, but we're at least if Disney Plus shifts, we will be doing reviews right after because it is 6 p.m. PST. So that's the only thing. Same thing if that happens with Loki. That's like the only real scheduling change. Beyond that, you got your usual news, side quests or review. I did Trash Toll yesterday. So other than that, nothing
Nice.
crazy. It's going to be a bit more quieter, I think, because most big movie reviews are done. So yeah, just be your regular good old geek first. And yeah, we pushed back after 9. We will find another date in the future to do that because that was the cast we pushed back because of fires. Because well, I guess I should say I don't know what happened. Yeah, Taylor's sister also her house was either very close or in quite danger.
Yeah.
So yeah, just look out for the schedule, but nothing too huge unless you like some Star Wars. Then Ahsoka starts this week. So
Yeah. So before we get into Gamescom, and we'll talk all about that and Jeff Keighley's latest and well, maybe not greatest, latest. I'll just end the sentence there. Jeff Keighley's latest. Tell me about what you've been playing lately. Any updates on those games that you kind of mentioned a few months ago, like any Hitman, or you mentioned that you have something new going on?
Yeah, so that's what got derailed here for a bit because there's been two things. Of course, this weekend, me and Taylor played some Call of Duty because there's a new season there. So that's like nothing too much added, but it's like it's kind of like calm before the storm because there's these rumors like Verdansk coming back and everything. So we went in there a little bit. It's just like a little few changes. So nothing to report there. We did that. But the biggest thing that me and Taylor have been playing, and that's where, because you were not by your Xbox, we got to get you on it because you got Games Pass, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about this.
Yeah. So if you go in the Discord, we've been playing that up. And luckily, that's a game that I think it's regular a $40 game, but it's on Games Pass. So if you have an Xbox, definitely check out. It's the same developers that made the Friday the 13th game. So in that way, it's very, very loyal to. It's funny because Taylor, I don't think he'd ever seen the movie, but I had seen it a few times, and I rewatched again this week because they were smart. They released the game on the 50-year anniversary of the movie. So they've been very good. Like this week or today's I think it's like the 35th anniversary of the sequel. They've been very smart with their release, like synergy time of like, okay, there's this hype. So, and even then, so I played the game, I went back, watched the movie because I'm a fan of that franchise, but it's not up there for me as like the horror franchise is one of the greats. Like April, I think it's her all-time favorite, and lots of people have it, but for me, it's not. But I still like it a lot, but I don't have the same recoil that I do with other ones. So I watched it again, and it's immaculate, like the maps, and I think there's only 2 to 3, and it's a lot different than Friday 13th, which had big campgrounds and you can kind of get lost. These are more like layers where there's like a basement, a floor, and then there's the outside. And it's definitely feels more like a mix between if you were to take Friday the 13th and take Dead by Daylight and kind of put them together, because it has a lot of aspects of Dead by Daylight as far as lots of, you can do little, a fuse box, a water valve, like that sort of thing. Where Friday the 13th you did, but that felt it felt so big, and it felt like that was a game you could kind of do by yourself. This game you can do by yourself, but it definitely helps if you have somebody, especially if Taylor's on the other side, like talking, hey, let's do this, let's meet here. And it's tough if you get lost. But to circle back, what I was saying is I watched the movie and then I played the game again, and just stuff down to like the very door, like some of the hinges and stuff. It's like just did such a great job. You can tell between Friday 13th, because if people don't know, this game was originally Friday 13th. It was just like it was like Camp Horror, like it was a generic one, and then they got contacted, said, hey, what if you did Friday 13th? Then a lawsuit happened and that died. Luckily, there's no lawsuit with Chainsaw, and they've said this before, like, oh, we're going to support this as much as we can. So that's what it is. You can tell these people love it. They have characters from the movies you get to play as, and it's very different than Friday the 13th as far as you have the layers. It's not one big map, and it's 7 people. There's 4 victims and then 3 killers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's I think there's 5 or 6 killers to pick from. The only rule has to be there always has to be like a Leatherface in the match, because he starts in the basement. Leatherface in the basement. So you start off and everybody is shackled up, and you got to break out, and you get like 30 seconds to 45 seconds, depending how fast you are to break out, to get away, and then Leatherface is kind of on the hunt. I'm not sure, because Dead by Daylight I didn't play as much. I'm not sure if this is a mechanic from this, but you start off hurt and you bleed out. I'm not sure if that's something that happened Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, I'm not
so
sure.
yeah, right away, if you don't get health potion, you could die in this game by not even being seen by any enemies. If you're not, so it's one of these things that you're kind of forced to, some people might go, oh, I don't need a health potion, I'm so good, I'm not going to get caught. But you're like, no, you're probably going to need it, because if you're running around too much, your stamina's going to burn your blood and it's going to be pumping out of you. So There's a bunch of things, and there's no like Friday 13th of like killing the killers. It's just escaping, and it's fun. It gets a little addictive at times. The runs. I don't know. That's what I've said to you. I don't know what's gonna happen once you get really good and level up characters, and unless you meet other killers that are really good, because you can switch at
Yeah.
any point. And this is the thing too, day one, I remember where we did that stream for Friday 13th, and that was brutal, those lobbies. This was not the case. Me and Taylor got in there no problem. There was like one night, a couple nights after, where we just were having connective issues. We rebooted and we were all good. But and finding full lobbies too, it's usually pretty well. The only thing is you have to have, I think, a full lobby to play. You can go in and disconnect right away, and that's fine, but it won't boot up without the 7. We're Friday 13th, which I kind of prefer, because sometimes you'd be in a match and there's only 2 counselors, like, well, there's not much point here because it's going to go by pretty fast. So I like that you kind of have to start at a minimum, so then you feel like the odds are pretty favored. It does skew, like if a killer, I will say, if someone disconnects out of 3 and it's a 2 versus 4 situation, I feel unless they're really good, it's quite easy to get away, because just the numbers game is too much. Because I think there's usually, with each map, there's about 4 ways to get out, and some of these ones are quite big, and some of these bushes that you can hide, that's your whole thing, is your move as the character is you're clutching at your stomach, and you're like stumbling the whole time. You can run, but the second you run, you make noise.
Start bleeding out and stuff.
Yeah, and you start bleeding out and stuff like that. But they do a good job when you're the killer. They make these bushes high, so it's not like, oh, I'm gonna hide in this bush and hope I don't get seen. They make a lot of dark areas. They make a lot of situations where if you can't find an escape path, or if you can't find like a meat locker to hide in, if you can, like, Taylor's mastered hiding in a dark corridor. I've seen so many people run by him. So it does feel like it feels like it's pretty balanced. But once a killer gets you, and if you're on the open, it's not looking good. Each killer has their own different type of unique attacks. Each character has a skill tree, which I'd be excited for you to see. Yeah, because you can build, each character gets an ability and 3 perks. So I play as Connie. Connie's my go-to. Also just looks like exactly like Emily, so that's kind of the joke that I have. But her ability is that she can literally, so when you're unlocking a door, you gotta do a button game, but if you go too hard, it's gonna make a noise, or it'll snap your lockpick, and then you gotta start over and go find another one. So you gotta take your time. But my big ability is you can just hit like X 3 times and the door's open. But the problem is your stamina gets drained to like its last bar, and you can get that back up, but then you gotta go hide somewhere. You can't bump at any killer. Like if I use my proficiency ability and unlock that door and a killer has me, it's over for me. Kick left. But that's the advantage if you're at like the last escape. If I just bust that open and walk right out, oh, it's great. So it's been fun that way, because each victim has their own specialties. So Taylor plays this guy named Ronnie, or Sonny. So it's Sonny and Connie. We have a good, like, we bounce each other out well as far as his abilities versus mine. Anytime we get to a door, it's like, hey, I'm unlocking that, but then I got to go hide for like 2 minutes to get my stamina back. So, and you got perks that you can actually, each perk has 3 levels to it. So more XP you get to it. So maybe it's something like, hey, if you're under 20% health, your stamina is more effective. My perk that I like is when you escape out of the first thing for at first it's for 30 seconds. It highlights all the doors in yellow, so you can kind of get an idea of where you want to go. And the more you get that up, so I've leveled it up to level 2. Now it's 45 seconds. Eventually you can get to a minute, which can be quite helpful in some situations. That it's dark. It's never so dark you can't see anything, but it's definitely dark of like, okay, I would like some sort of guide here. And then you can kind of, what I like about this perk is you can kind of like plan your trip out. Now, the second a killer finds you, then you might be somewhere else and it's gone. So, yeah, and you get to update them all. But the also thing is you have a skill tree, and it goes left and right. Once you start getting certain skills, other ones lock off, so you can't get them all. So that's a fun thing where you really
RPG going on here.
Yeah, you really have to think about, okay, do I want to be better at the crawler? And then you can, it's like stamina, or I think it's endurance, proficiency, stealth, and there's one other one too that you can also buy points towards to push this up, push that up. So yeah, it's a lot more advanced than I thought. There's aspects of it that I enjoy more than F13, then there's some I don't. I think, like I said, I'm interested to see what they do with the maps going forward, because they are smaller, and I just do worry if you play them a bunch, will you get really good at them? But maybe the flip is that other people will get really good at the killers. So I like playing as the killers. Me and Taylor do that every once in a while, but I definitely like the more of the victim side. And yeah, the killers have the same thing too. They have their own skill trees, their own perks and everything. They have
Is there one that stood out to you that you liked so far? Like you like their play style?
so far, Johnny, he's like this kind of like just like muscle bound, like he's just a helper. But I like him because he has this footprint tracker, so you can do an ability, and if you're not seeing anybody, but you see a footprint, you get to go highlight it and gives you a little pass, so that kind of gives you some help. There's a guy named the Cook. He can listen, so he has like a 0, he has like a O, and then the more he gets, like he moves around, and then it widens to show, oh, the guy's over there. So that's a good one. There's Sissy, who people, I think she's the community's favorite, because anytime you find a Sissy, they're usually pretty good, and you got to avoid them. She just spews mist at you. So the thing is, though, how people are using it is they block off exits. So it's a good thing of like you can really get cornered. If let's say you're in a room, they turn around and spit that mist at a door, you're kind of screwed, because you got Sissy or you got the Mist, and then there's the Hitchhiker, who I don't think me and Taylor have played as yet, and then Leatherface, his is just the chainsaw. Like it's literally just the chainsaw, but he can like destroy doors, or destroy like how you would crawl underneath. He can destroy that. So it's like eventually, if you stay in an area too long, you will run out of exits. Like you'll have to face Leatherface, and maybe you can juke him and run around. That's great, but he does have the ability. But it's fun because then there's little cracks in the wall that characters can sneak through. He can't do anything but put his chainsaw through, but then a character like Sissy, she can go through those. So that's where it's great, that I like that you can't. With Jason, eventually you would know, okay, even though you can switch the character and have different Jasons, you kind of know, oh, I see that skin, I know what that power set is. With this one, there's 5 killers, and there's a whole bunch of different combinations of strengths and good things. And the reverse, where sometimes like, man, you guys picked a bad team. Like this doesn't complement each other at all.
Yeah, these games never really have a team of multiple of the enemies or the antagonists, I guess. So that's an interesting twist on it. I like that.
Yeah, and then there's also this thing that there's in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, their grandfather they keep alive by like feeding him blood and people. So what the killers can do is, if they're taking too long, there's either you can get the blood from hurting or killing a victim, or there's buckets of blood around, and you feed Grandpa and you get him to a certain bar, and then he'll cry out, and then when he cries out, if you're moving, they'll show you on the map. So it'll be like, and that's where lots of times, some people you'll get it into max overdrive, where if you get to 4 bars with Grandpa, doesn't matter even if you're not moving, they'll show everybody on the map. So there's some strategy to it, the killers. It's not impossible, where that's where I feel like with Friday the 13th, if you got really good, you could not, like Jason couldn't find you. But with this, it's like the killers have that buff of, let's say you Dylan, you're great at hiding, no one can ever find you. The killers could decide, you know what, we're just gonna go ham on the blood feeding, and just eventually, once we fill up those bars, we'll see him. The question is, are you too far gone at that point? Are you already at an exit, like working on other things? So it's fun, and I want you to get in there at some point, because it's a good time.
This weekend I'm down to jump in there.
Okay, perfect.
Been meaning to check it out, but I was away from my Xbox for a few days there.
Yeah, it's fun. Different skins for characters, little things, and nothing like pay anything like that. It's all you unlock per the game. So it's I think it's above expectations, and I don't know what this game's going to do. I think they said like day one they had 1 million players, so they're happy about that. But I hope it's somewhat of a hit, because with Friday the 13th, that was a crappy situation that happened to him, when the game kind of ends not on your your dime, and they had all this DLC and other new maps and new Jason's plan, and that just got rid of it. So with this one, I'm interested, because with Jason, there's a lot of campgrounds. With this, there's mostly just the house. So I'm curious to see what other maps they could do, but maybe there's going to be other game style.
Yeah, you said multiple. So. There is multiple maps like in there right now.
Yeah, and there's day and night cycles too. So sometimes, well, not cycles, but there's sometimes where there's nights where it's going to be a map, and it's cool because when it's nighttime, there's fireflies all around, and it's pros and cons, because sometimes actually as the killers you don't want to be night, because those victims can hide a lot better. Right. So it's like I said, you can tell they put a lot of thought into it, and it's very fun. So like I said, that's my short round one. Is if you like F13 and Dead by Daylight, it's kind of a combination of the two. So
is there a supernatural element to Texas Chainsaw? I've never seen any of these movies, and I honestly don't know anything about them.
It's all like cannibal hillbilly sort of stuff. Like that's the idea. So there's nothing.
But like even like the killer He
No,
can't like
he's just
teleport and shit like
no.
in Friday the 13th and whatnot. Okay.
No, he's just a guy who had an ugly face that decided that he needs new faces. So he's always so. But yeah,
There you go.
you know, again, technically they make it like the grandpa crying out. That's like a video game thing. He doesn't actually do that in the movies, but so they're hiding it. But yeah, nothing supernatural. So,
Mhm.
but and like I said, you can't kill the killers. You can stun them, but you can't kill them in
Right.
this game. So.
And yeah, I was curious. You mentioned talking about the way you escape. So,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, it kind of starts out like the first phase of the game. I guess is like you're in the basement. You get
Yeah.
like you're finding your way out of there, and that'll differ game to game. And then you're trying to break out of the house, and then you're
Yeah,
trying
it's a
to just
house
like
or like
leave
a
the level.
yeah.
That would be like something like you got to find a car battery, put in a car. Is it
Yeah,
that sort of thing?
there's you can do pick locks, which usually to me is the easier route. Usually with pick locks, though, you're gonna have to use 3 to 4. So that means you're gonna have to find a toolbox. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
do the mini game. But it's just because I think there's a fuse and then there's a water valve, and those open 2 different exits as well. I think those go quicker, but the problem is I think they're more in a dangerous hot spot most of the time. Like I think Taylor and I have only done that once, and most of the time it's the pick lock. So maybe we should challenge ourselves here. But yeah, you got the basement, and it's usually the upper levels like a house or barn. It's not too hard to break out of as long as there's no killers guarding the area, because there's many
Mhm.
times you will just crawl up a ladder and then they're sitting right there. The good thing, what I like about the game is they have this thing where they have multiple all throughout the yard. They have wells that you can just jump down. It does take you all the way back down to the basement, and it does do damage, but you can escape. So there is an idea of, okay, if killers are
Okay.
guarding, you can get up there, which is kind of good too, because then the killers are a little confused of, okay, where did they go? What exit they gonna pop out now? So, and there's lots of good things too. Like Johnny, my character, he's somebody that the bad guy. He can go back and relock doors, so you can open it, and then you'll come back to the door, and the lock's been locked, and you're like, oh man, I gotta redo this. So that's where the well thing's fun. But again, you need your health, because you can. I saw Taylor once jump down a well, and then he landed, and he was in recovery mode. And by the time he had to do his mini game to get back from recovery mode, he was a goner. You know,
Yeah,
so
right.
the well is not always a sure thing. And you can heal your friends too, which is nice. If they walk up, you can give them their potion. So you get to hold 2 items, only 2. So that's usually a lockpick, one of the valves, you know, a fuse, the bones. Bones are like your weapons. You can also kill chicken with those, because they have chickens in cages. If you walk by them, the chickens make a bunch of noise, and they tell the killer that you're there. So you can go and assassinate the
Gotta get rid of them,
chickens,
yeah.
so that doesn't happen. And then the lock picks as well. So yeah, there's about 5 items, but you can and the health. So there's about 5 items, but you can only hold 2. So that's why you gotta really. And I don't think there's any perk where you can go up. So, and I kind of like that, because I feel like you'd be a bit more OP. But you can choose to do 2 health potions. You can choose to have 2 lock picks. You can do whatever you want, but just the 2. So
Yeah, cool. I'm excited to hear more about that and try it out. I'll definitely be down to jump in this weekend. and give it
we'll
a
be
go.
doing it. Good.
Yeah, I just have 2 games to shout out. One's probably pretty quick here. So yeah, one thing I've been addicted to again is Inscryption. I don't know if you remember Inscryption, Travis. This came out a
remember you
couple of
mentioned
years
it a bit, yeah.
ago, and it was in my top 3 for 2021. Loved that game. And then at some point last year, they added like a full-on roguelike kind of deck building mode to the game. I mean, the game's already a deck builder, but added like a roguelike mode on top of what it was. And I just was so busy with other games last year, I never got around to checking it out. But finally, in the last couple of weeks here, I've been jumping in, because there's a lot of new content added through this mode as well. And it's just a fun way to get back into that world, because it is like the regular game is like kind of a linear story focused thing, right? So it's been really fun. It's so good that in the last couple of weeks I've been playing on like PC. That's where I had the game. And then when I was stuck in Kelowna for a couple days and my plans were kind of temporarily canceled, and I was just sitting around, you know, refreshing the news and just being stressed out, I was like,
Doom scrolling.
I'm like, I don't have my laptop here, but I always want nothing more than to play more Inscryption right now, so I just bought it again on Switch. And you can't even access that mode until you beat the game, so I've just been like speed running the game again, trying to get back to this point so that I can play it on the go. But yeah, it's been so much fun to get back into that. And
Nice.
yeah, I feel like you would actually be into it, because the game itself is like a simple enough card building, like deck building card game. So I know you love Gwent, so maybe it's kind of in that pocket.
Oh,
But then like
yeah.
the whole aesthetic of the game is like a escape room like horror kind of situation,
Okay.
and it gets like much more meta and like different stuff. So I don't want to spoil the later sections of the game, but it's very wild experience. So
Would it
definitely,
just
if
be on
anyone,
Switch or is it on any consoles?
well, yeah, it originally just launched on PC like in the year it came out, but I think it's been ported to everything now.
Okay.
The way I see it, if something like has made it to Switch, it's like probably made it to the PlayStations of the world and Xbox
Okay.
and whatnot. So it's probably on everything at this point. I think it's like 20, $25 something in that pocket,
Okay.
but so good.
Yeah, after Starfield, I got a couple games like that I want to try. So my backlog's taking a bit of a break, but there's just
Yeah.
games I forgot because I forgot about that years ago. That hypercharged, Unchained or Unboxed game that was like the.
It was
and
fun, yeah.
yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, I gotta get that. It's like $20, and I'm obsessed. It's not out yet, but I'm obsessed with Killer Bean. I can't wait for Killer Bean. Did you ever watch that thing in the trailer that Espos put in?
No, I don't know what that is.
Save
What
it
is
for
this?
another time, another one.
Okay.
But it's apparently it's based off some movie in 2008. But it's literally you're just a hitman that's a bean, and it's just the
Alright.
gameplay looks amazing. But that's good to know about that port. And there's also this other game coming out called WrestleQuest, which is like a very cartoony like JRPG version of a wrestling
That's
game,
cool.
and there's real wrestlers in it. So I got a bunch of littler ones. But now that I don't think I'll be going on my trip, I do have Starfield now. Like I think I'm back to the early access. I think so.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah, because
exciting.
that's what happened. I planned on, but it's like, oh, I'd only be here for a day. I don't know if it's worth the extra 20. But if I'm gonna be here in Cologne, it's like, okay, I think I'll be on that Impressions because again, we'll get to in Gamescom. That was one of the biggest highlights and everything I keep seeing in this game. And now people haven't dropped reviews, but they're starting. People are starting to be a little chatty and like good. It's
Yeah,
good.
people
chat.
have the game as of like 4 or 5 days ago at this
Yeah.
point. So yeah, things start to slip at that point.
Yeah, and luckily it's all been good slips. It's not been like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It's been like, oh, what I'm hearing. This is really. So I'm like, okay, the
And then
hype's
Keely
building.
just
So.
a million times in the showcase was like, I've been playing it, but I can't say anything.
Yeah.
He's like being super
Yeah.
cheeky about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the other game that I played a lot of on my bus ride from Vancouver to Kelowna is recently they added Zelda, the Oracle of Ages and the Oracle of Seasons to the Game Boy on Nintendo Switch Online. These are like top-down Zelda games that I've never played before because I kind of jumped in handheld on the Game Boy Advance, so I kind of missed these ones. And yeah, so I've jumped in there. Do you know anything about these games? I don't think you've played these
No.
because you're not really much of a handheld guy growing up. right?
No. I did a little bit. I think those were mostly though for the hey, we got a long car ride. You know, like, get me a Game Boy. But no, I think I've only heard them by name really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these games are really interesting. They were supposed to be a bit of like a Pokemon sort of situation where there's, I guess you could say, like two versions of the game, and then there's like
Okay.
some sort of way they cross over. And I think the way it's set up here is that like when you play through Seasons or Ages, pick whatever one you want. You can play through the game, and then when you beat it, you'll get like a little code that you can put into the other game. Then it will change some things with the story. So I haven't gotten that far to see what that is like. But I jumped into Seasons, which the main kind of overworld mechanic of it is that you get this little staff and you can change the seasons. So, for example, in one location, if it's winter, the snow might be like blocking this certain entrance, and so you have to switch the season to summer, and then you can walk through, and this vine is growing and that sort of thing. And it works really well. It's really cool. There's one of the really surprising thing for me was like some of the mounts in this game are really wild. Like, you have like this floating bear. You would get like a kangaroo that you're just riding in the pouch of. Because I feel like Zelda, I'm just so used to like, oh yeah, you have like, you know, Epona, like you have the horse in Breath of the Wild. Like that's really the only mount that I know
Not a
of.
kangaroo, yeah.
Yeah, like this is something kind of weird and different. But yeah, it's really good, really enjoyable. I love the pixel art from this era. The dungeons have been pretty fun so far. Nice. I think, you know, when you go back to a game like this, the biggest complaint that I have is that, you know, with Zelda, usually you go into inventory and you map whatever like equipment you want on, and you can only fit 2 slots because the Game Boy only had like 2 buttons that you could use on it. But I'm like, man, so badly do I want to just equip 4 or 5 of these things so that all my buttons on my Switch controller can actually do something here. Because going into your inventory all the time to like, you always got to have your sword on, so it's pretty much just go in to like switch out.
Yeah.
And I want bombs on. Now I want this thing or the staff to like change seasons, and that's really the only frustrating part. And I've also had to use a guide a couple of times because there are some times I just have no idea what the heck I'm supposed to be doing, and it's a little unclear in that way. But it feels to me closest to Link's Awakening when I played the HD remake thing of that on Switch. So even that was like modernized and had all these quality of life sort of things on it. It feels the most like that in terms of design. Like the map feels fairly small, but like really jam packed. Like each nook and cranny, each screen feels like it's really well thought out in that way. I'm really digging the story. So yeah, it's been really fun going back to this, especially if I'm still like kind of playing Tears of the Kingdom. And on that bus ride, I could have played Tears of the Kingdom the whole way. I still have to go through all of that. But I kind of like, in a way, I mean, Zelda, like these old school Zelda games and Tears of the Kingdom are like completely different. Right?
Yeah.
They have like really nothing in common at this point. And I still really do like a good top-down Zelda experience. So definitely fun going back to this. And I'm definitely going to play through seasons. And I'll do Ages at some point. I don't think I'm going to immediately do like the double header of drop that code in and play through that immediately after, because I want to take a bit of a break at whatnot. But yeah, I think I'm like about halfway through. So yeah, if anyone has Nintendo Switch Online or played this game or these games back in the day, definitely worth checking out. It's a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's it for the games we've been playing. So how about we take our first break, and when we get back, we will talk about Gamescom. Okay, we are back. 2023 Gamescom opening night live has finished. There's, I think, some other random showcases happening this week, so there might be more news that we can pick up in next week and talk about there. But yeah, we had like 2 hours worth of showcase going on here. Travis, give me a quick overview. How did you feel about this, about the showcase, about the quality, the hype levels, all that sort of thing?
It's tough because it's not. I can say I don't know. It's not that it's bad, because I don't think I'd say it's bad. I think there's aspects of it that are, but it's really tough too, because this is one where it's not exactly just Jeff Keighley. It's Jeff Keighley and Gamescom. Like they hire him to do these things, so it's like a partnership. So I feel like it's not exactly like. There's things that I wouldn't enjoy on there, like when they have the cosplayers, when they have, other people come up and talk. Right? I don't know if you need this, but that's what Gamescom is, right? So it's this tough thing of you're trying to, feed the master in a sense. Not saying that Jeff's like locked down by these people, but there's certain things that he has to hit. So it's tough. If they went and they said, hey, no matter what, we want this show to be 2 hours, then he did the best he could, I guess. And company, whether the whole team. If it's something that they made the show and said, hey, we got a 2 hour show, then I think that is a mistake. So that's why I kind of have to go a little bit of, reserve my judgment, because I don't know who would have made that call. But as a 2 hour show, I just don't think it really worked that well. I don't think there was, there wasn't many surprises. And it's funny, for homework, I actually went back and listened to our Gamescom review last year, because I was interested what happened then. And it sounded like, I feel like we're going to be kind of similar, but the only difference is that there's a few more games that appealed to us, and there was a bit more surprises, where this year it really wasn't. But I guess I didn't enjoy the show that much, because I thought pacing was kind of weird. I thought there was just a lack of, it felt like Jeff, this was what I was prepared for. For weeks, he did lots of lists of this is what you can expect to see. And he did the always and more, but usually when he has something cooking, he always be like, oh, we got a few special surprises. I didn't get that sense from him this run, so I wasn't really expecting that. So there wasn't any big surprises. Pacing, I think, was kind of all over. I think there is some moments that it's just, I guess if you have nothing to show, you have nothing to show, but you have Phil Spencer who comes up, wins an award. And I'm like, oh, what a great transition that'd be. He walks over to Jeff. He's like, oh, we've been working on this. No, he's just gone. He just flew down to get this award. And I guess Gamescom had other things going on, right? So I'm sure he'll be talking to devs and press. So fine. But yeah, I guess the thing is, I don't know if here's my best pitches. Not that it was bad, over the whole thing, just that it's forgettable. And that's sometimes maybe more worse than bad. I don't know. Because bad as we've been there before, the Ubisoft where they got to sit down with the movie producers for a whole hour and talk. Or, Nintendo at times has had like some of those early ones, or the, classic Square Enix one. Like there's some ones I say are the bad levels. I can't say this is bad. Just kind of underwhelming and forgettable. And it didn't do much here. I think most of the stuff is you could just see if there's any games you're interested in. And if you want to see more, then watch that specific trailer. But overall, I feel like there's almost you want a show to have something for everybody, but this just felt like they kind of threw stuff at the wall and like, oh, we'll do this and do this. But there's some good showcases. There's some games that I'm looking forward to, but I think also there's no games that oversold me, that kind of switched me, that were either new or that I was on the bubble. I think I'm the same, that the games that I'm not getting, I'm getting. The games that I'm getting, I'm still getting. It didn't push the needle. So that's my short, long-term thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in terms of hype level, this might be like the worst Keighley showcase for me. I think there's been other
hype,
ones that have been like longer, have dragged on more, that are filled with more ads or have way too many people on stage talking about stuff and just spending too much time on each thing. But it just in terms of the actual excitement level of the games that we got here, really, really low for me. It was a ton. It really just honestly felt like a bit of a encore repeat of Summer Game Fest.
Yes.
Like so many of those games that we've seen a bunch, and I know that's obviously going to happen. And it's not like Jeff Keighley can. It's not like he's like Feige planning out announcements for years in the future.
Yeah.
You know, like these things kind of move. I guess slower in a lot of ways, and it's probably a lot of last minute. Like, okay, we got this trailer ready, we're gonna pop it in here, and so you can't blame him. Once again, it's not just his thing here; it's Gamescom as well. He's kind of the part of this, multiple people working on this. But yeah, there was very little here. Even the games that I am interested in, like Starfield, for example, we'll talk about that first. Like that was one of the least interest. Like I love Bethesda, I love Starfield, I like Todd. But that was one of the worst segments I've ever seen in terms of like getting people hyped for games. We can talk about that because it sounded like you were into it, but I don't know. Like I just feel like there was very little here for me personally. And so there's a couple games that we'll talk about that did stand out. But yeah, I think the pacing and whatnot could have been a bit better, but overall just fairly weak. So let's just kind of get into it here. I want to quickly mention this, which is like right at the start of the showcase. A couple people bust on stage and they're talking about GTA 6, and this kind of happened at the Game Awards last year, where someone came up and like got in front of the mic and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I'm not gonna like blame Jeff for this or anything,
No.
but like, do they not, like, if people are getting this close to him, like this is a huge security concern. The fact that this keeps happening is crazy, and it takes so long to deal with it, and obviously that puts like a damper on it. It just ruins the vibe a bit, and I'm sure Keighley was just like bummed out. So I don't know. There's not really much to break down there, but it's like how does this keep happening? If this happens ever again, I will be shocked. Like, I don't know. I don't know what he needs to do, whether it's put up a fucking wall or electric fence or something. But man, like, stop this from happening.
Well, two things. One, just good on him because he was a complete pro. He powered through it. Didn't look like it phased him all. You can tell he was annoyed, but he went right on to Todd Howard. He was like, "Oh, I'm just trying to do the show. Oh, this is about games." Like, and he said his little comment. But some hosts that could throw you off. Like, just imagine if we're podcast right now and two people just came in our house and start like that'd be different because it's our house. But I'm just saying, like, for Jeff, very good on the fly.
That stage is Keighley's house, okay?
Yeah, true.
And,
but yeah, so one, good on him. That's where it's like, man, that's a pro right there. Two, I don't understand, and they maybe just got to start doing badges. They got to have maybe press can sit this far, and then fans have to sit further back. Whatever you need to do, because I'm not trying to like make it over dramatic, and I'm sure they wouldn't have any weapons on them. But the fact that it's not that even they got up there, they're up there for so long that's why I thought for a second, oh, this is a skit or something. I thought because one guy came and another guy and a bunch. I'm like, oh, is this gonna lead in some game or something? And then it really didn't when he's like, you're disappointing the gamers here. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a weird thing to say, but that's where it's like on a real life level, obviously they're just there to say some meme. And I guess this guy, he's in Germany and does this with other stuff too. So kind of like that Game Awards guy. But if it was somebody that wanted to hurt Jeff, I'm not saying it would have killed him, but like he was up there long enough that he at least could have got a hit on him, like hurt Jeff. And that's where it's just like, how is there not somebody the second anybody, there's two people got on stage, the second anybody gets on stage that's not tackling this man? It's like, whoever it is, Jeff, Gamescom, whoever put on, at least even at the stage, have some really fast, really strong guy that like if you come up here, you're gonna get hurt. It's just one of these things that it happens every once in a while. It shouldn't be, but yeah, it was a very strange moment. I couldn't believe what I was seeing for a bit, but yeah, don't do that. Don't be a loser.
Yeah, those people fucking suck. It's so weird.
Yeah.
So Starfield was where they started off the show, and yeah, this was just very strange for me because like they had like a live action trailer essentially that was essentially meant to show off what the start of the game is like, which is a very classic Bethesda sort of thing where there's always some way that the game starts off, and it seems in this one you are a miner and you find this artifact, you touch this artifact, and that's what kicks off kind of the main story, and you're being inducted into this organization, and that's then you go into character creator, or you probably do the character creator first and then that stuff. I'm not exactly sure the order of it, and that's pretty much what Todd Howard reiterated is the stuff that was essentially told in that trailer. And they had like, I think maybe the composer up there doing a piano thing along with it. But yeah, I don't obviously need another trailer for Starfield at this
Yeah.
point. I'm gonna get that thing, the early access, and I love Bethesda's games and I'm all into it. But it did feel like a weird way for this to be like your last big event showcase. It felt like a really weird way to show off the game, in my opinion. And maybe at this point they don't want to share anything else new, and they felt like they've done enough. But it was strange to me. But yeah, it sounds like you were maybe more interested in it than me.
Well, that's how I took it. Was just that we don't want to we don't want to do a big showcase. We want to do any more reveals. It's that close, like you can taste it. It just felt like this is literally the last time you're going to see it at a conference. Push the hey, this is coming out. And for me, maybe it's just because it's kind of like if you order a pizza you like, and then a few weeks later, you go, "Do you want that pizza again?" I go, oh, "Absolutely." And that's where I guess this is some stuff I'm forgetting. But one, I actually maybe he said this in interviews, that whole comparing it to Indiana Jones, that got me really excited because I didn't really put two and two together, but I like that idea of, okay, it's space, but still that idea of, like, I know it's explore, but just something, I guess there's something when you say like Indiana Jones, I'm like, okay, that's a different vibe to me than even what I was thinking about before. And
I mean,
then
Todd is working on the Indiana Jones
yes,
game,
he is
so
working
it
on
makes
Indiana
sense.
Jones, so hopefully that's a good sign. And then something that I don't think I'd ever knew, and I kept meaning to ask you, and I'm sure it was confirmed, but I just liked how much action there was in third person. And I know we've seen people walking and stuff, but I think from what I saw, it looked a little more fluid than what Fallout is, because I remember when we did the review for Fallout, what was it, 3 or what was it, 4? And all of you like, you play in third person? I was like, oh, absolutely, because that's how I go. So this looked a little more smooth. I like the switching back and forth. I knew there were space battles, but again, even that looked fun. So maybe it's just also that life has been hectic that I forgot some of these things. It was just a good reminder of, hey, all the stuff is looking real good. That trailer, that's the one you're just going to see on TV a bunch to get, because most game trailers in mainstream always get like a live action something, right? So I thought it was like a good little, hey, here's a reminder it's coming out. Good way to start. I don't know if I need the whole piano thing, because I'm sure they might just do that at the Game Awards again. But I thought it was a good little reminder countdown of, hey, this is, let's get it in front of everybody. And I'm very excited.
Yeah, I feel like, one of the things that they've been talking about a lot with Starfield is that it's going to be a more grounded, realism-based game. Like, this is obviously going flying around in space and you're finding crazy creatures and stuff. But they even tried to come down with like, okay, the spaceships and stuff you're flying are supposed to be like realistic and not just crazy sci-fi stuff. And so I feel like that's where the live-action trailer comes in and is trying to really set the tone of what's going on here. So I do get it. I just didn't really care for it.
That's fair.
I suppose. But yeah, in terms of the third-person element, I mean, all the way back to Morrowind, all of their games have had that ability. You can just zoom out into third person. And from what I understand, I'm sure they get better. The tech feels a bit better each time, but I'm almost always playing in first person, so it's not something I can comment on too closely. But I'm sure since Fallout 4, it's going to be even better than when it was there. And because I still like to do it sometimes if I'm just walking around a city and I have a cool set of armor on, I like to do it sometimes. But whenever it comes to like actual combat and navigating menus and that sort of thing, I'm usually into the more first person side of it.
I think that's it. Like I said, it's just a few little slices we saw. It looked a lot smoother than it was even in Fallout 4, which I feel like they primarily want you to play first person. You can have the option, but I feel like there's times clunk there. So that's what was getting me excited. So,
But yeah, in terms of the gameplay, I don't think there's really anything new to break down. I will say some of the character models, some of the visuals looked particularly good. I think sometimes the game does seem a bit drab in the showings that we've got. It's just a little less bright and colorful and vibrant than like an Elder Scrolls, I guess. But I think it's looking really good. You can like see the improvements if you go back to older trailers and see stuff from like this time,
I've seen those.
Summer Game Fest and whatnot. So yeah, the game's looking really good. Hopefully it's incredibly polished. I hope so. But yeah, the game's gone gold at this point, which means very little these days, and reviewers have it. So we're imminent at this point. It's coming out super fast. And
reviews are 31st too, so a few days I guess just a day before you'll get that stuff. So
which I did want to mention that because obviously Bethesda as a publisher for the last few years had notoriously kind of really pulled back on their reviews, and like they wouldn't give reviewers access to the games until like the day it dropped. Their embargoes would be like really, really savage. But I guess this is, I don't know if it's just that they're so confident in this one and they want to show that confidence, or if it's like Xbox being like, no, now that you're under our umbrella, this is how we're going to do it.
So it doesn't backfire.
I mean, I feel like for a bit like Fallout 76, I feel like we can understand where that came from. And once again, different studio than the people making Starfield. But yeah, I think it's a good sign, and hopefully but I still behind the scenes, I am very curious whose decisions those were. If it was purely, if it was a Todd thing, if it was a Phil, someone else, I'm curious on that.
Yeah, and I think it could just be also some confidence because it doesn't come from me. There's just kind of some circles I've seen where some people have compared it or said that's like probably their least buggiest launch, and that's already just a few people playing it. So I'm like, okay, that's good to hear. So
It's a
yeah,
good sign. Next game up, Little Nightmares 3. I believe this was the reveal for the game, so
Yeah.
that's cool. It's coming out 2024. And yeah, I think it looks great. I think Little Nightmares is a series of games that have been eternally on my wish list, but I've never bit the bullet and picked them
Yeah.
up. But they both look great, particularly the first one. I really like the art style of that one and some of the enemies and whatnot. And this kind of just seems like more of the same, but I think for a game like this, that's kind of what you want to see, and maybe a little more evolution in terms of the art style of it. It's a bit more stylized in a different way than those first two games. But yeah, this looks good. It looks like another good iteration in this series. Any thoughts on that one?
No, I'm the same as you. That it's been on. I'm gonna get to this at some point. I never have, but yeah, it looks really good. Supermassive's working on this, and I love them because they did Until Dawn. They did the Quarry, which I'm still trying to get to at some point here. They, I guess, helped with like a remaster of one before, but this is the first time they're like helping
Right.
build up, and I think they have good horror elements. So again, it's at some point on my life I will get to it, and what I saw looked good. It seemed like people were excited by it, so good trailer, good showcase there. I thought like a good first outing to be like, okay, this is coming out 2024 for now. So yeah, I don't have much to add, unfortunately, other than it looked interesting.
They're doing a podcast too, so with the
Oh.
game. Did you see that? That
No, I
announcement
did
in there?
not. There you go.
Yeah, there's like in there, like, and we're also doing a
I remember,
six-part
you're right.
series.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's the big thing nowadays, right? So
Yeah. Black Myth Wukong is a game that we've seen a couple times before, but I feel like it's been a bit since I've
it's the
seen
monkey
this
game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which has like insane graphics, very much a Sekiro
Yes.
style game. I liked the tone that was shown off here. This kind of like headless sitar player guy.
Threw
some of
Logan
these-
off big time.
Yeah.
She was staring at for a bit. She said, "Where's his face?" And then I just laughed. I had no answer for like. I guess he doesn't have a face. You know.
Doesn't even have a head. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of it up there. But yeah, I think this game's always looked really solid. It does seem like one of those games though that is like kind of all about the combat and a lot of style, and hopefully there's substance under that style. So yeah, I'm really on the fence. I feel like I still need to go back and finish Sekiro maybe before I jump into a game like this. But once again, just graphically, style wise, similar to the mythological creatures and whatnot, this game looks amazing. I really like what they shown off here, and I missed if there was a release date on that, so I'm gonna look that up real quick while you talk
Sure.
about this.
Yeah, I appreciate too that I like that it's not just a human lead. Like me and Taylor are always talking about those Star Wars. Like, why haven't we got a game with an alien lead yet? Like, I always think that makes you stand out right away. I think your Sekiro comparison's perfect. And now that I've done Elden Ring and I plan on doing some more stuff like that in the future, Sekiro's one that I'd like to start dipping my toes in. I know they're not the exact same, but they're just more in the harder punishing game sort of deal, right? So I feel like that's where I would start and then work my way here. I like the lore. I like everything I saw about like the comparison. If this is like a movie, I'd be like, okay, this has my interest. With a game, it's different because like, okay, you got to invest a lot more time as far as all the other things that come out. So I think this is a game that I could return to at some point, but I applaud it for making it stand out so much. I think it's almost like Starfield. I could use like a little more color in there because there's a lot of like brown and black sometimes when they're fighting in the dark areas. So just a little more, but other than that, it looks like I'm interested to hear what type of, I'm sure there's not too much story, but just like what lore there is to this world, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Sonic Superstars. I know you're pretty excited for this game. What did you think of the showing here? I think I saw this coming out like right before. Oh, sorry, but Black Myth by the way is 2024, so that's
Okay.
probably not for the date, like the date there. But yeah, Sonic. I think it's trying to come out like right before Mario, so
Yeah.
probably good for them to get out a little before that if they wanted to release this fall season. So good for them on that. But yeah, any notes on this new trailer?
No, other than it was just funny. He did this with this and Frontiers, and he's like, "Oh man!" And here we are. We got a big update on a fan favorite, and then it's just Sonic Frontiers, and I was like, "Okay, like I get it, but just, it's just Sonic Frontiers." So you hit the nail on the head, where it's much like Alan Wake was on my radar until Spider-Man got that date, and I know Alan Wake's shifted, and we'll talk about that, but still, it's only a week after. Same thing, Sonic, where until Mario Wonder came, I'm like, "Oh, this sounds like looks like a great, perfect family game." The girls are starting to get in the games. We can kind of hold their hand. With Mario out, this is a game that will be played. It's like Sonic Frontiers, but this is something where I'll wait for Games Pass or like a $20 one because if I have my preference, I'm going to go the Super Mario Wonders route, whether it's even with me and the girls or just me alone. You know, even if I was just had no one around, I'm always going to go Super Mario first, you know, especially with Wonder. So, yeah, it looked good. Like, it looks like it could be a fun time. I'm very curious. I'm excited for that to come out because that's another thing too, where with the Mario game, you could tell me, hey, Travis, you don't get to see any reviews, but you still have to buy it. I have no problem buying that game. Sonic, that is still a game that I'm interested in. I like that aspect of it. But if it were to bomb or be just kind of like low 50s, then I might go, okay, maybe it is just fine to skip this and me and the girls can do like a Lego Star Wars or something like that, right? Or even, they're not at this age yet, but I'm very excited for like Marvel Ultimate Alliance because, you know, I got the kids, so I can have my own squad there. So it's like there's other games we could go towards. So if it's a game that, of course, when I start playing with the girls, I'm going to be on easy mode and I'm not really going to be doing much, just going to be having fun with them. But I still want to play the games that I enjoy as well. So if Sonic ends up being a game I would enjoy, then it wouldn't make the list. So I like it. Looks fun, but I'll be excited to see what people say. But yeah, because of Wonder, it's been shelved for a little bit. So
yeah, fair enough. Zack Snyder came out to show off Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that trailer, but I wanted to mention this first. So part of this was that he was showing off the trailer. We got, I don't know if we had release dates and titles for the two parts, but we have that.
It was a whole awkward interaction to start off with. Keeley and Snyder did not have chemistry.
Zero chemistry. I was thinking, like, man, did Zack Snyder get off the plane like 5 minutes ago and
maybe
rehearsal or something? But they were not bouncing off each other. I feel like Jeff Keighley was giving him too much space, but then he didn't know how to fill that space. And even Snyder, I've never seen him like talk before in real life, but I feel like he maybe didn't have the best stage presence. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't think about it. But yeah, it was a very awkward. It was a very awkward segment.
Trust me, as somebody, I go on the Vodka stream and shout out to Dave. He has Zach on all the time. You can see when two people have chemistry and then when it's not. And like you said, maybe it's jet lag. Maybe they've not even met at all until like that day, right? Maybe they just talked over text. But I just felt like they're talking over each other. And Zach was like, let's see the trailer. And Jeff's like, well, before that, it was like, just show the trailer. Like Zach threw the trailer, just go to it. But I know you got to hit your cues. Yeah. And then when the trailer ended, he's like, I can't wait for that game. And I know he was talking about the game he announced, but it made it sound like Keeley had seen it, like he thought that was the game. It was like from start to finish, it was an awkward thing. But you know, it was for me the highlight of the thing. I don't know. Yeah, so they announced the dates of the movies. There's one coming out December, and there's one coming out April next year. So I'm kind of surprised they're not a year apart. I thought that's, you know, get some time, but it's Netflix. They can do whatever. And then they're making a game. Kind of disappointing because I thought because I know it's a video game one, so we won't talk about it. I loved the trailer. I thought the trailer was great. I thought visually it was really, really good. I really hope they put that in the theaters because right now that's not on the cards yet. I know he's trying to make that happen. So I just saw the scale and man, I really want to see this. I love all the genres. So right away when it's like, oh, I could see this could be a fun world. I think it's bold to already be doing a game before these movies are out. But now it's like, okay, it's through Netflix and it's a very kind of generic sort of like, it's a MOBA. And that's where, when I heard that, I was like, all right. Like that might be something if I love the movies, maybe I will put my toes in and try. I've never really tried
MOBA. I did not catch that.
That's what online people have been saying because the studio he's working with, if you look at all the other games and how he described it, was like, it felt like Zach was trying to describe an RPG, but really when you see what he is describing with the studio, it's more like, oh, you select your class.
His description was, so yeah, the game, it's like you pick your rebel. And then like you go on missions and like it's gonna be like he did not think about his pitch for this game for a while. No. And to me it screamed like this thing has not even seen pre-production yet. You know, like it is nowhere into the planning stage. And he, I guess, just wanted to. It was Gamescom. Wants to get an announcement out there, but it once again, fueled into this weird, awkward interaction.
Yeah, and it's weird because, like, I don't know. It's tough for me because I was very excited to see this trailer. I don't want Gamescom to be the movie place. I think Keeley's a smart enough guy. I think he could do a new Comic-Con. I'm not saying he has to do that, but I think Keeley, in the past, I think he's had a couple conferences lately that haven't been the greatest, but some of those high ones, he could make something with that. So I could see maybe in the future, or maybe like a mix. Like you could do, that would be the mecca too. If you could do an event that was kind of a mixture, obviously you can't be fan base for everything, but if you had like a movie, TV show, video game, I think he could do something. I think he's hosted the think this year he hosted like the Netflix gaming one or whatever it was.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so maybe he's starting to dip his toes in that type of world, but I think it was the thing most trending from this Gamescom, and I think that kind of tells you. I think it's a joke, but it was like the biggest thing from this was a movie trailer, and I don't think you want to be doing that. But maybe if he had a bigger reveal, this wouldn't be here, because I don't really see the correlation between Zach and Jeff and Gamescom and Netflix. Maybe it's just that he did the Netflix thing, and it was kind of like a one for you, one for me. Like, I'll host this, you give me something, and people know Zach has like a big fan base that will tune in and talk about it. So, but I thought the trailer looked really good. I'm very, very excited for this one. I'm very curious to see what he does. Very big scope, visually looking really, really good. So, and I hope the game could be fun. Like I said, it's a reason for me maybe to try out Netflix games, because have you ever played a Netflix game yet?
I mean, not technically like through their service.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is interesting that they've really They've been trying to go a lot harder on that, and they've had some really solid titles. Like Terra Nil was a really solid indie game that I enjoyed a few months ago, which is on their service. I just played it on Steam. Into the Breach is on there now. That's one of the greatest games ever made. So there you go. Yeah. That's a great pick on there. Perfect to play on your phone as well. So they're definitely doing some stuff. But yeah, I am curious who's really wanted to make this happen, whether it was like Keeley wanted to do it for the numbers, or if he just did it because they like got a huge paycheck for including something like this. Yep. Or if it was something else altogether.
A lot of questions about this Gamescom and who released it, who did this.
I know. It is a puzzling one. But I mean, if you can go back to like Summer Game Fest, like they had a trailer for Black Adam there. It's like why is that? Why is that here at all? It makes no sense. That one had no synergy whatsoever. But that was clearly just like taking a bag because you got to, and I'm okay with that. So, and I think this is much more interesting and cool because it's I guess like the first full-scale trailer. I think we've had like teasers before or something, right? But
they've all been like 10 to 30 seconds, so they've been very minor.
Plus you get the good info of like, here's the titles of these two parts, here's the actual dates. We already knew one was December, right? We just
we knew the first one, but we didn't know the second one, and they gave the official titles too. Those weren't others, so they gave them a lot. Netflix and Zach, whatever it is, they gave them a lot of info. So
for whatever reason, I was kind of less hot on the trailer here. I'm definitely interested in this movie just because I really did love Army of the Dead, and I feel like he's kind of doing a similar thing here. I really like the dynamics in that movie between the characters. I think they all kind of went past like the tropes that they could have been, and so I feel like that will be the same here. I kind of have faith in the project because of that. But there's something to it, like visually, I felt like some of the effects weren't really working for me. And I really like the tone of it so much, and like story-wise, it felt kind of generic. So it wasn't really screaming out to me, but I'm definitely still wanting to check it out. I mean, December 22nd, kind of a rough release date, honestly. Like, I don't know if that would be a day one watch for me. We'll see. Kind of how I'm feeling, how things are going. At that
if
time.
it released earlier in theaters, would you see it, or would you be like, nah, I'm still gonna wait for Netflix?
Yeah,
that's usually what they do, right? They always do like the hope is it gets theatrical, and they usually do like a week or 2 weeks before. So I think that'd be smart.
I think I would definitely do that. I think I'd be
consider it.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, so that'll be good. We'll be covering that stuff.
Oh yeah,
it does come out, even if I'm not there. Someone, at least you probably.
And if not April, you'll be on part 2. Because really the reason it's in 2 parts is it's more like a Kill Bill thing where he pitched it as one movie, and Netflix is like, well, we don't want to do that much, but we can do this big movie and split it into 2 parts, and that's where they met in the middle. So it's more like Kill Bill, where it's like you're supposed to kind of watch it as one full movie, but yeah.
Gotcha. Another sequence that I found kind of awkward in this showcase was the Fort Solace section, where this is where they brought out Troy Baker, a couple of the other actors that I can't remember the name of. And it was like, this game is out today, and you can all go play it now. And so I was like, I guess I forgot that game was coming out. And so I when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go see what Metacritic's saying about this, and it's sitting at like a solid like 54 for the PC version on Metacritic, and
it looked like that.
It's on mostly negative on Steam, so not the best reviews for this one. But I was also looking at them because you look at it, it looks like a AAA game in terms of the visual quality and the kind of the genre. It seems like a popular genre space, but it's only like a $30 game, so I think it's quite short. In the Steam description, it's like you can play. This is meant to be like a TV series, and there's like 4 episodes is the way it's structured, but you can play through the whole thing at once. So I guess it's like a shorter experience where if they're pitching it that you could play through the whole thing in one sitting, then I'm sure it's probably like a 4 or 5 hour long experience is kind of what I'm guessing here. But I don't know. It seems like it's maybe not the most exciting, and it did feel like a bit strange to bring these guys up here, because I feel like that was the case maybe Summer Game Fest of last year is where they really showed this game off. And then I feel like it just went off the map. I completely forgot about it. And then remember just a couple months ago when me and Taylor were doing a summer games release date like recap, and then I was like, oh yeah, this game's coming out.
Yeah.
So it's out, and you can hear these people talk about it, but didn't really sell me on this one.
No, I kind of had the exact same thoughts you did with like the Rebel Moon trailer with this, where it's like it looks like there's because some of these aspects speak to me and the type of games and genre I like, and it's like it looks like there could be something there, but I was like, just something about this doesn't seem like it would hit that great benchmark. And then now when you tell me those scores, I'm like, yeah, that seems like that would be about right. That maybe you'd played and see, oh, there's a kernel of something here, but I think it's more. I know it's already out, so you could make the same case as Starfield, like it's one last hurrah. I think it's more just to get Troy Baker up there, because Troy Baker is, I'd say, the most popular, like, VO. You know, it's him and Ashley Johnson, right? Like, I feel like there's a few other Laura Bailey, there's a few other people, Nolan North, like, there's like probably, you know, maybe 10 voice actors you can name, and Troy Baker is like the biggest one. So I think it's just kind of like Hideo, who was not here, which I'm happy with, because I think Jeff's been pimping him out way too much these past few years. Like, oh, I got a podcast. Like, I listened to that last year, and that's when they brought him on there to announce his podcast. So I was happy, like, okay, let him work with Death Stranding. So I think it was just, okay, show's a little lighter. Let's get Troy up here, pop the crowd. He's good at, getting people excited. He's friendly with a lot of people there. So I think that was more just like a morale. Like, let's bring like someone, the community looks up to. So.
I think that maybe the highlight of the best trailer, I'll say, for this showcase for me was Mortal Kombat 1, which obviously we've seen a few times now. But I just thought that the showcase here, the gameplay, the characters they were showing off looked fucking amazing. Yeah. I mean, visually the game stands out for sure, but they were really highlighting Sindel, I guess is the character here who's using her hair powers, and they were showing off some of the kind of combo attacks that I remember talked about in Summer Game Fest, although I feel like we didn't see a ton of it in the past. But yeah, I thought it looked amazing. Obviously, I'm not a big traditional fighting game guy, so I don't think I'll be picking this up still. Kirkland, I think, is still definitely on board. But
I think Taylor and I are, yeah.
Oh,
you'll be playing stream, yeah, I think.
Yeah, at the very least, we'll play it on the 24-hour stream, and I'm very excited for that. And I feel like, honestly, Sindel is going to be the first character I go to, because loved her combos, the weird hair stuff. She had a really cool look. So I was really into that, and that looked pretty awesome.
For me, I always go because September's packed, and I always do, do I need this? But just like they did at the end of this trailer, which was very smart, they flashed that DLC. Right. And those 3 characters, Homelander, Omni-Man, and Peacemaker, I'm like, I really need to. And there's been other years where same thing, where there's been Predator and Terminator, and I've been like, why didn't I get those? And I go back, but it's just time. But it's like, okay, I haven't bought a Mortal Kombat in, I don't know, I think since the Xbox, like near the end of the Xbox 360
it's a good one to jump back into.
Yeah, and especially that's the other thing too. It's the first one. But they actually were doing, when they were showing story beats, they were showing characters that have interacted hundreds of times in the series, meeting each other for the first time, because it's a reboot. So I think that was another good thing of talking about, oh, I've never met you before, you look smaller. So I think it is the perfect time that if you care anything about the story, then great. You don't got to really know. It's like, if you do play the campaign, this is fresh. It's going to be a new world. If you're just there for the fighter, it looks great. I know beta's been out, and I think most of the word have been positive from people playing it. And most of the time I feel like it's kind of like Call of Duty, where when they make that Injustice, those games, they're the guys to make a fighting side-scrolling game like that. If you're going to look at a positive, I don't know, did any of us draft Mortal Kombat 1 actually?
I don't think so, because it wasn't announced at the time.
Okay, so I do gotta drop a game here soon.
I totally forgot. So you know what? Until literally in the last 10 minutes. So.
I'm doing it right now. I'm dropping Replace. I'm putting MK1 in there. Yeah, I'm doing that because I thought we might see Replaced here, and it didn't happen. But no, I think all around it's a great training. I think it's a great showing and everything like that. So, I think I'm getting more and more excited, and I think it's good timing, because there's a lot of games in fall, but I think this one stands out a bit more. So
you were going to replace Replaced with
yes,
Mortal Kombat.
With Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Okay. Looking at Taylor's list again, I think all his games are supposed to. Well, I forget. Forza Motorsport 6. That's still coming out this year.
Yeah, it's still coming out, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so he's good. He's had Pikmin released now. And I still need 2, because I have Hollow Knight and Hellblade both. Well, Hollow Knight we just haven't heard anything about.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to pick in this moment. I didn't think about this prior.
That's fine. You don't have to.
Next week on Sidequest, I will announce my replacements. But I'm happy for you with your Mortal Kombat one. It's a good pick. Let's see. The First Descendant. He's gonna get some water while I tell you guys about The First Descendant, which is an interesting looking game. this might not be a good way to sell it, but it looks a bit like Anthem. It's kind of the vibe I got, but it's a single player or online co-op looter shooter sort of situation with a sci-fi setting. Seems very based on movement. I don't remember seeing this game before, so as far as I know, this is a world premiere, a new announcement. But there was something about it that I thought looked pretty fun. I liked the scale of the combat. I think the powers you had were very explosive, a lot of effects. It looked very fun. And then some of the characters, I don't know, is maybe a bit of like quirky characters, maybe a bit on the generic side. But there's something about it that seemed a little bit more interesting to me than like some of the competitors in this space of games that seems to be like a million competitors. So this one looked all right. I don't really see myself picking it up day one or anything like that, but it seemed interesting nonetheless. Any thoughts on the first Descendant, Travis?
No, not really. I like until honestly you described it, I kind of forgot about it a little bit.
And that's totally fair.
There's a bunch of games in the middle that not that they look similar, but there's a couple few very anime like this looks like Final Fantasy type of games, and then there was that Killing Floor game that looked like Doom. So I felt like there was like a 45-minute section where I kept getting games that looked similar, and I kind of lost the mesh of it. And then it was a lot of we got an award, and we got this person talk about that. So no, I didn't take too much. So it didn't end up on the radar for me this go around. Maybe another showing down the line, but
yeah. One of the things I thought was interesting was you talked about the Phil Spencer thing when he came out to like grab that award. But I thought it was interesting, like during that segment on the screen, which they weren't like highlighted on the screen, it was more on like the presenter who was talking about the green for gaming, or whatever they called this thing. Yeah. They had just like it was this game where you're like collecting trash. And it was like it said Made in Dreams. It was a game Made in Dreams that was like the showcase for this. I was like, that so
can't be a
cool.
thing.
I love that.
Like, that is cool, but like, how can you be like a game within a game? That's interesting.
Well, that's what Dreams is all about. That's the whole pitch of it, isn't it?
I guess so. All right, I guess so. Yeah, like you're not wrong. It's just weird that like to play my game, you got to go buy this game. But like, I guess that's what it's there for, right?
Honestly, I don't know if it was. I don't think they were really pitching it as that. It's not like the trailer for this thing. It was more just this fun thing in the backdrop. But yeah, I think that was cool. I mean, Dreams, I think they are officially not supporting it anymore. Like the servers are still online. You can go play and download, and people can make new stuff in it. But like Media Molecule has officially moved on at this point. But that was a fun little touch that it was chilling in the background there.
Yeah.
I don't have much to add here, but I wanted to bring this up because it seemed like this was a talking point in the Discord was Marvel Snap. Obviously, just doing its new thing. The main thing they were showing off today was that the PC version of the game is officially launched. You've been able to play it for a long time, but it was like in early access and it was very janky. And I imagine it's still going to be somewhat janky because even the mobile version is still janky. Like it's a very janky game at times, but it seems like it's a lot better. And then they had like some fun events you could go to get some free bonus stuff. But yeah, I think the discourse in our Discord was people were just not loving Ben Brode, who's the kind of creative director, I believe would be his title.
He's always like this.
He's always like this. He's very high energy. He's always yelling. Even like once again, the way he answered, I forget what Keely's question is, but he's like, "How's it going, Ben?" And then Mez like, "We got this new announcement." He like just starts getting right into it. He like missed his cue or skipped a line or something like that. I gotta say, even as a big Marvel Snap guy who I watch these monthly updates when they're doing the new seasons and stuff, his shtick's like worn off on me a bit, and I'm getting a little annoyed by the man. Although I think he's got some. He did like a talk at GDC that I watched online. I thought was really good and insightful, cool. So I do like him. I'm a little bored of his shtick at this point. But yeah, any thoughts on that? They didn't really show much. It was not the greatest showing, other than just like, hey, you can play this on PC now, which you already could. So it's not huge.
Fun trailer focusing on those switches. They had like Deadpool, Ghost Rider, and someone else. And Gwen was like, "Who are these?" I'm like, "Oh, they're Marvel characters." Like, I've not seen any these Marvel characters. Like, yeah, you won't for a few more years. Don't worry about that. But no, my favorite bit was just he did that whole thing, and Jeff was like, "Okay," like I don't.
Yeah, he couldn't match that level.
No, he couldn't match that level. Maybe he's still recovering from earlier events, but no, like at the same time, it's like you pay attention at least, right? Now, some people that might be go away heat where they pay attention, like, oh, this is annoying and go away, because I know April was like, get this guy off my screen. So there might be people to go, I'm gonna pull up my phone. So I think maybe just do 75% of that. But hey, he's passionate about it, and I'm happy that Marvel Snap is still ticking along, and they got this PC version. So hopefully it's at least it's been out for a while. But
they just released X23 this week as a
right. I've heard about this. Yeah. So I'm still, like I said, I don't want to try to, because I just know if I download it, it's over for me. There's certain games like that, so I don't. I gotta. It's like The Ring right now. I gotta wait. I gotta wait for a lull. I gotta wait. Not that this ever should happen. To like the video game people go on strike, and there's like a big lull of video games. That's I guess it wouldn't be supported. So never mind. So one day
we have a million games in our backlog. So
yeah,
we'll be good. We'll be good. And then the last. Well, we'll close it out with Alan Wake 2. But was there anything other games that I skipped during this? Because there was like the Call of Duty thing, but like I don't really have anything.
Too long. That was like I play Call of Duty now, just Warzone, and I like all these rumors happening that supposedly now with each Warzones they're going to be carrying over, and there's like this big rumor going around that they might just make a Warzone game and it just be always continued, never flips and stuff, which I love because I miss my Arnold Schwarzenegger skin and I miss my Scream skin. I miss those things that I paid $15 for. So no, I just thought that was like a overstaying your welcome, because like I'm even into COD again now, and I was getting bored at it. So the people that aren't at all, I just feel like I feel like how long that segment was, that's a thing where you like put your browser away and you forget about it and you might not come back to the stream. I think it was way too long because they had the devs talk and also like, here's this mission, and I'm sure people play it, but I just don't feel like that's what Call of Duty's for. So no, there was that, like I said, again, there's that movie, that game Killing Floor 3, which I had to, which was great while the kids were around. I had to say, hey,
oh my god, yeah, there was like full on M.
Oh yeah,
there.
I was like, look away, because I was not expecting that. And for a second, it's like, oh, is this some sort of Doom thing? Because it was very violent, but then eventually turned. I've never played a Killing Floor 1, so there was that. Looked interesting, but I'd have to look in what that franchise is. Armored Core, did that have a date before? Has that always been 25th?
Yes.
Okay, so I just
for a while.
Okay, I just missed that apart at some reason. So no, I think that's pretty much it. There was just a lot of general. I think again, Cyberpunk was another one that got too much time. I know it's kind of had like a little bit of a comeback, and people are more positive on it now. But I just feel like the way they treated it felt like they were talking about Cyberpunk 2, but really it's just a DLC update, which is still great, and they're supporting the game. But it felt like they're trying to overcompensate again for, we don't have big games, but we got Cyberpunk.
I found it funny that they like this update is not going to PS4 and Xbox One. Like, they've just abandoned those versions of the game completely, which I get it to an extent, probably. But it's like you should not have sold them on that platform. No, even though I enjoyed the game on PS4, but still I can't play the update, so I'm not going back. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's everything I would have.
Okay. So yeah, Alan Wake 2 closed out the show. And it was kind of an interesting, maybe a bit of surprise, and maybe not the most hype for me necessarily in terms of what they were showing off here. But the idea was, the new thing that we got to see here was how much they are incorporating live action sequences into the game. Now, it makes sense in a way, because for anyone who doesn't know, like Alan Wake 1, which we've talked about before that game came out, there was like a YouTube series which was live action, and I think there was a few episodes of that kind of led into, it was like a bit of a prequel into the game. And so that makes sense. That was a live action thing. They've done it before. I want to say Control had live action sequences in it as well, like videos of, like a live action actor doing a certain science-y thing. So this is obviously a thing that Remedy is into, and they're doing it again here, and it's incorporated into the experience in some way. So maybe like video game Alan Wake will like watch a TV and it's like his live action counterpart, or like he's being interviewed, the live action one, hearing about like this video game. It gets like trippy and fourth wall-y and all that sort of thing. So I don't know. It's not necessarily something that gets me excited, but it could be kind of cool. I don't know why. I just feel like the actor who is Alan Wake, some of his facial reactions seem a bit over the top and like a bit goofy for me. And I feel like it takes away from the serious tone, the horror vibes of it for me, because it just feels a bit cheesy. And so that's where I'm maybe a bit worried that it could take me out of it a bit and break some of that immersion, so to speak. So the other thing that this happened a few weeks ago is that the game got delayed by about 10 days. So I think it was the 17th. Now it's October 27th. So it's a distance itself from Mario, from Spider-Man a bit more. I don't know if I'm picking this up yet. I'm still a little bit on the fence, honestly, just because there's so many things releasing in that time.
Yeah.
And I guess that's even like, that's going to be going into the weekend of the 24-hour stream, so I won't really have a chance to play it anyway. So I don't know what I'm doing for this one. Even though I did love that first game, I'm just feeling weird, and this could have been the thing that pushed me over the edge and sold me, but instead it actually like made me recoil a bit and reconsider. So
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm at. I didn't think it was an awful showing, but I think for me personally, it just wasn't what I was hoping for, I guess.
Yeah, I think it wasn't so much the actor. I can agree with you there. I don't think that kind of just had like a null effect. It didn't go up or down for me. I was like, I need to see how this acts more in the game versus the trailer, because could be the cuts, could be, hey, in the trailer we want you to be like really over the top, really expressive. So I don't know what is all in there. I think it was just the more game stuff, and it was like the last 30 seconds of seeing Alan Wake go through all these scenarios. This was one that I was just bummed that it is 7 days after Spider-Man, because I just know that's going to take some time in Mario, but I'm going to do a double feature. But I this trailer sold me more. This trailer made me more regretful of, I hate that date. I wish it was even maybe like early October, which I feel like would have been a little bit better too, because I think the same thing that like the Saw movie is doing when it's releasing September 29th, I think that's actually smart because it's going into Halloween, not the tail end of it. So I feel like that's kind of in the vibe. I know there's stuff like Starfield and like even Mortal Kombat, but still, like even the first week of October or something. But yeah, I thought it was a good showing. I like that they've been like hiding Alan Wake like secretly, and they said, oh, this trailer is about him and it's gonna be all this stuff, it's gonna be like, what has he been up to? So I think that's good for anybody worried that he's not like a main character. I think they're really showing that no, he is. It's still lots of his journey. So no, this game looks great. I'm very excited at some point to do, but like I said, I haven't played the first one. That's the other thing too, where with Starfield, so I want to play the first one, but I think this keeps ticking all the boxes. And it's the same thing with Control. They are the studio that keeps making the stuff that I'm interested in, and I keep putting off, and I gotta stop. I maybe gotta put them to the top of my backlog list here, because every time I see these trailers, I'm like, why haven't I got these games? It's always something. But no, I don't know if it was good enough to end on, but I think that's all they really had. I think maybe you could have swapped the two, but I don't know. I'm very curious how this game does. I just don't think it's going to do that well, because Keely kept being, oh, October's so packed. And like, that is the problem. October is so packed, and I just don't know how many people are going to pick it up.
It's tricky because Control was obviously such a big deal, and you think, is that the game that is now sent Remedy into the stratosphere in terms of popularity, and is that gonna like then carry Alan Wake 2, or was that first game still kind of like niche enough that there's just not a huge fan base, and people might be like, well, I'm not really gonna go back to the second game if I haven't played the first, even though like I guess they did release that remaster or remake or whatever it was that must have come out at this point. I feel like I
think so. Yeah, I thought
disappeared off my radar, the existence of that thing. So maybe that's a good way for it to be built back in. But you could definitely see the Control influence in yours. But there's that one shot where he's like in the dark red room, and then like the explosion sort of happens and a bunch of paper flies everywhere. I'm like, that's
the shot. Yeah, that's the shot of the trailer, and that's what reminded me about Control. I'm like, God, like there are all these games. So, but I agree with you. It had those vibes a lot.
Yeah, and yeah, I think you're right, because early October. And obviously, if they need more time to do it, that totally makes sense. I mean, I don't think they delayed the game because they need 10 extra days to work on it. That's not really how it works. I think it was more to distance themselves from some other games releasing. But I do feel like early October would be a way better pocket. They'd have a bit more of a runway, although there is still tons of stuff for releasing no matter what. But I think for me, it's like by the time this game comes out, obviously we have our 24-hour stream. By the time I get back, I'm going to be in November, like the Halloween vibes are going to be over.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll want that vibe anymore. I'm already planned ahead. So obviously we got those new games, but I picked up recently Resident Evil 2 and 3, those remakes for like $5 each. And I want to play through at least one or maybe both of those games in October. I want to play through the new Amnesia game in October. I also want to finally jump into Luigi's Mansion 2, which I picked up like a few months ago and I haven't jumped into. So I already have a bunch of like Halloween horror scary games picked up.
Proper 2, right? Like Dark Moon with the 3D. Yeah, okay. You're not waiting for the remaster on Switch, eh? You're waiting for the.
No, I have I got the cartridge. When I was worried, well, not worried, but like I knew the 3DS store was closing, so I've started to look for more of those things, and I did pick up a cartridge for a nice, like it was like $20 or something like that. So excited to jump into that. But yeah, like I have so many other things that I feel like I don't know by the time this game comes out, I might not even be in the mood for it. So maybe I'll pick it up down the line or something like that.
Yeah.
We will see. I think Control was on Game Pass at some point, so maybe there's a bit of a partnership there. Maybe we could see this game.
I think you're right. It was at one point. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. I think that's the showcase.
That's a showcase.
I don't know if there's anything else to add on this one.
No,
we covered it.
Kind of a paint by the numbers, not too much. Like I said, I don't think it was overly bad show, but I don't think it's memorable. I don't think that it's It's tough because I think there's a lot of big games out there, but they are being held for their own conferences or even Game Awards, right?
Game
Like
Awards probably, yeah.
people are really hoping because, and I think it's more Game Awards, but like the developers behind Wonder Woman, they put up some new concept art as their like on Twitter, their wallpaper, and it was like it's new, it's completely new, and it's
Okay.
official because they put up. So everyone's like, oh, does this mean something for Gamescom? And no,
Yeah.
I didn't think so either because they are a bit more current games, but I think that could also be it too. Maybe even just like we tell us a partnership that maybe he's on purposely holding stuff more for Games Awards because that's his baby, right? Where this is a partnership. So I do think between Summer Games Fest being, I think we said it was like fine to all right to say kind of a similar vibe to this. I think that was more disappointing because I think we expect more from those shows. We'll see in December. They announced the date. That's December 7th, and obviously we'll cover that. That's
Yes.
on a Thursday, so we'll be covering that as usual. But
2024 is looking to be like a really big year for releases, so I would expect
Yeah.
Game Awards to be pretty hype for people want to
Yeah.
get their release dates out and that sort of thing.
that's what I was thinking. That I think, Summer Game Fest this maybe been a little lackluster. I don't think Game Awards is going to be. I think that's going to be one of those conferences where they hit a 5 out of 5 home run and we're like, man, Keeley knows how to do it. And, and sometimes you need that. You can't have we talk about the video games, movies, everything. Not every conference could be a banger. Now, I still think there could be pacing things changed and things brought down, but no, I still, nothing in a week that I'll really remember, but hopefully Game Awards is great and I'm happy we got that coming. So
Yeah, so the next couple weeks here on Sidequest, I think next week we're planning on doing a bit of a just Bethesda, like not necessarily a Starfield preview, but more just talking about like our experience with Bethesda, why we love Bethesda's games, why we're excited for this new release, that sort of thing. That'll be probably me, Taylor, Kirkland, so that will be a good time. And then it sounds like Travis might be joining me for Starfield Impressions. We're going to do that kind of as soon as possible. I'm at least going to pick up that early access, so Travis might as well. So we're gonna probably have some coverage on that, which will be like after we've played the game for maybe 2 or 3 days. So it'll probably be kind of very much first impressions, but then the week after we'll come back with even more Starfield. And honestly, maybe even the week after that, it might just be September might be Starfield month until Mortal Kombat comes out. But very excited for all that. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for Taylor for those thumbnails. Thank you to Amanda for the music. Thank you for joining me, Travis. Bye bye everyone.